And this neighborhood is called the Marigny, and all of this was a sugarcane plantation. Very important word today, sugarcane plantation. Sugarcane is the whole reason New Orleans even survived. It was not making it, to be honest. And now, see that green building right there? It's a good example of how narrow a lot of these houses are. I'm going to show you some more later if you can see it. But there's another one with these turquoise shutters right up here. You see how narrow it is. And I'm going to talk about why that is and show you some good examples of some shotgun homes. Yeah, see how narrow this is? I'm going to talk about the reason for that in a minute. Oh, NCIS fans, right here, Royal Street Inn, the True Tone Lounge is right there. And episode they have a drink. Good job. How did you know to look for those fingerprints on that dog collar type of thing? But so True Tone Lounge. Now I mentioned Marigny, the guy who he owned this area. He's the first person in the U.S. to make a subdivision, to subdivide it all into real estate plots. And you would think he would have died rich, but he died broke because another irony you'll hear me say today, he imported the game craps to America and New Orleans, and he died broke from playing craps. So perfect, another perfect. I know there's irony police. Wait, is that really irony? And it is. Yeah, and so we're going to turn right. If we went back straight, we'd end up right back at Canal Street. So you can see the French Quarter is a perfect grid. And we came across from Canal Street, across the river area. Now we went up. Well, that was a little spur, Frenchman Street. Now we're going up Esplanade to a cemetery and then City Park. So it'll be a good day. Oh, we got around it. Yay. Whew, I feel better. Now, if you took a mental picture of Canal Street and you saw that, that's the police calling me back. I witnessed a crime earlier and I called the cops and now they want to interview me. Um, and later, in other words, the Spanish and then the French. And then, but they did do business together. And so they made an agreement, shook hands, said, hey, no violence on that middle area of Canal Street where the streetcars run today. And they would come out there, do their business, no violence. And they made a pact. And so they called that area neutral ground. And so that's where this on my left, we don't call it a median. We call these areas neutral grounds, where there are green spaces, places for streetcars to run, places for people to watch parades. And so that's what they call them, neutral grounds. And also, because those people came together to do business, they made a new currency. And there was a $10 bill, and the French for 10 is D-I-X, dix. And the Americans didn't speak French, so they called it a Dixie bill. That's why New Orleans and later the whole South became known as Dixie, because of that $10 bill. Now this neighborhood, we went over across Rampart Street. This neighborhood is called the Treme, and the Treme is a very important neighborhood, musically, historical neighborhood. And on the left right here is a beautiful church called St. Augustine. You see it right down there. And that is, past and present, the home of many New Orleans' best musicians. And so the Treme is historically where a lot of New Orleans' best musicians lived, went to church, and played music. And it was easy to go across Rampart Street to play a gig in the French Quarter. And so that's that neighborhood is incredibly instrumental in the creation of jazz. And I'll talk today about 4 ingredients that all came together here to become jazz and blues. And that's important because that all predates rock to years. And so we're talking about really the history of modern music in general. Dizzy's is a great little restaurant on the left right there that's in the Treme, and but it's mostly lunch. Very local spot there. But that church is important. Okay, so think about this. A lot of musicians got their start in the singing in the church or playing an instrument in the church, but also in the history of music here, the churches are important because they have these street processions all the time, like this one that's going on today. It's in honor of MLK, and it's called a second line, and it's a celebration, you know. And they'll have a celebration of almost anything. Say a wedding, for example. So after the wedding, a lot of these things will start at churches, and they'll stop different places along the way, and so these churches are really important in the history of music for several reasons. And these processions always needed very loud instruments. And I play and make acoustic guitars, and they're not loud at all if you think about it. But brass instruments are. So of the ingredients of what became jazz early on, brass is very important, but it's connected to the history of street processions here. And you also have right back there near that church in the Treme is Louis Armstrong Park, and inside of Louis Armstrong Park is Congo Square. And so historically, Louisiana had completely different laws regarding slavery, and they were off every Sunday. And so a lot of them here in New Orleans went to Congo Square to play their traditional songs, traditional beats.